We're always taking up a couple of these emblematic cases and says that this is how strong our judiciary is. But on the ground, loss delays had been a perennial problem. Somebody was telling me when he took over 60 years ago also, the issue was that. But no concrete action had been taken. So everybody knew what were the problem. And most of them knew also what were the solutions too.
Investors constantly talk about these delays in our legal system as being an impediment for them to choose Sri Lanka as a destination for investment. How do we overcome this, and what are the progress of those reforms that you had initiated a few years back?
As you correctly pointed out, when we took over, I think we always had a good independent judiciary. There are no two words about it, comparatively in the region and all those things. But functionality of it, effectiveness of it always had been debatable. And we were always taking up a couple of these emblematic cases and says that this is how strong our judiciary is. But on the ground, loss delays had been a perennial problem. Somebody was telling me when he took over 60 years ago also, the issue was that. When I took over also, I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, several of reports, World Bank funded, several people funded, all those were there. But no concrete action had been taken. So everybody knew what were the problem. And most of them knew also what were the solutions too. So what was lacking? A coherent program as to how you come out with these reforms on a consistent basis. So then immediately when I took over, because of my knowledge as a lawyer and a practitioner, and also being in the Bar Association sometimes, as a result of which I knew and I could always rely on my colleagues from the profession. So we kind of devolved a mechanism where we got about 5 subcommittees appointed. I understood the lack of judges, lack of courthouses. We have not kind of brought the technology in, and our laws are outdated. So in view of that, we identified this area in a holistic plan. I made a presentation to the cabinet in terms of which we identified 5 areas: the infrastructure development, digitalization of the courthouses, criminal law reforms, civil law reforms, and commercial law reforms. For example, digitalization had been there on the card for the last 7-8 years. About 5 years, the money has come for digitalization from the Treasury, 500 million, and gone back without doing anything. But we managed to get everything in, and we had a very interesting and a very comprehensive program for that. We got all the experts to come in. We established a subcommittee, went through the whole process, which took about 1.5 years almost. Unfortunately, once we awarded it, we don't have the money right now to $20 million for the digitalization of the whole Sri Lankan courts, which will start with about 100 courts. So that is where we are, but digitalization is the forefront of the changes we were looking at it. And then during the period of COVID, Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and some of the other courthouses were proactively engaged in that. But I would say the judiciary could have done a little more than that. JSC would have taken a more proactive act. And lawyers were also, some of them, though they are our colleagues, was not very technically savvy or not willing to go through that process. That's one side of it. Other reforms were, we established these subcommittees. Through the subcommittees, identified those laws which need to be reformed, and experts from those areas were handpicked and they were given the task of developing it.